New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev BRZ and Rev Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the New Thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev BRZ and Rev Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the New Thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
And hello again, dear ones. Dr. Robert with you over here.
Rev Z right here.
And this is Ministers Talking Shit for Friday morning. It's the middle of February already, Z. How'd that happen?
As the song says, life is moving on. You better get with it or it'll soon be gone.
Life is moving on. Exactly. Happy Valentine's Day, my dear friend. Happy Valentine's Day.
Yes. Today is the day of lovers, as they say, and there'll be candy and cards and dinners and flowers galore today.
Hope you didn't wait till today to buy your flowers.
Yeah. It's although I just saw a newscast, a lot of local places got tons of them. They stocked up because that they were thinking that with all the stuff going on in the inflation and politically and this, that, and the other, a little happiness with flowers would be quite nice right now.
Yeah. Well, I know the way to my wife's heart. I'm giving her a dozen eggs for Valentine's Day. Cost me more than the flowers.
Yes. Nothing shows love like a dozen of eggs, right?
At this time of year, exactly. And that's our first story today, folks. Grocery stores around the country have started to initiate purchase limits on eggs. Now, I remember back in the pandemic, right? We had some early ages of the pandemic. We had some limitations on paper products, and there was actually a limit on eggs at that point in time as well. There was a point where you could only purchase a dozen or two at a time. And I did see a picture. I don't know how real it was. Somebody like a Costco, and it was 3 people in a row with a whole cart full of eggs where they cleaned out the shelves. And my bet is they're either a restaurant stocking up, or price gouging. So
could be.
Get your eggs or get over it, folks. It's Trump's world now, and that's the phrase I hear online more than anything. Get over it at this point.
Well, and they just put out a report that inflation has jumped by 3% since June of last year, about 8 months.
Yeah.
And so inflation is up 3%, and so you look at some of the government payments like Social Security, pensions, things that track with a cost of living increase. Inflation has jumped by 3%, but the cost of living increase was 2.5%. So they're still 5% behind, assuming that they were on par before this happened, right?
Yeah.
So it's and I anticipate it will get it will get more challenging because before it gets better. At some point, it'll even out. I mean, that's just the way economics work. Um, but the challenge is, can you survive the pendulum swing to the left or the right, whichever way you're looking at it, before it comes back to the middle?
There's always market fluctuations, and in my lifetime, I've rarely seen prices go back down.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, eggs are at $11, $12. They'll go to 9 or 10, but
I
don't think we're going to go back to $3 eggs, a dozen eggs for a long, long time, because number one, all right, so we got hit by the bird flu and the chicken problem, but now all the farmers are getting slammed, and they're not making that money. The farmers ain't making any more per egg.
And in addition to that, they've cut funding, right? Trump has stopped certain funding, so they're not getting funding to subsidize them or whatever they need. So it's going to be a vicious cycle.
Yeah, it's kind of like this Trump crowd. They're demanding that states clear their forests so that we don't have as many forest fires, which we also know is bullshit. But then they cut off funding for any help. If the states had that kind of money, they'd do it. Okay. And I'm going to give Trump, I want to give Trump an ultimatum. You want to do away with all these government departments? Let's start with the IRS. Let's start with the IRS. If you want, right, you're trying to fund all this stuff off the back of the little guy. You're letting the oligarchs and the Musks and the technocrats get off for free. And you want to push everything to the states to do it. You don't want the federal government to do anything. Good, then we're going to stop paying you. If you're not going to do the work, we're going to stop paying you. If you're not, I saw a thing recently, like Colorado is one of these states that we pay more per capita into the federal coffers than we get back. Now, there are states that get a lot more than what they pay in, right? And in my perspective, that's the concept behind being united. Mm-hmm. Okay, West Virginia, you don't have quite the economy that we have here in Colorado or California or other states. There are 13 states. Interestingly enough, those 13 states predominantly vote blue. There's 13 states that pay more into the federal coffers than we take out. That means everybody else is even either pretty even or takes out a lot more than they put in. And you want to just make it so that the states are on their own? Well, I'm Colorado. I'm sitting here. Fine. Things are going to get better for us. We're going to have more money because we ain't giving you any more. But other states will go bankrupt in a day. I don't know what this man and these people are thinking other than burn it all to the ground and we'll rule the wasteland.
I think he's trying to implement a supply side economics where if we can so-called begin to produce more internally to reduce tariffs that we are paying and reduce costs and get more people employed because we're producing more here, which gives us the motive to export more, right? But they're going to tariff that. But then if we drop our tariffs, their tariffs will also probably drop. So there's a method to his madness economically if you look at it. I just think he's going about it in a brutish way that will bring up hostilities and animosities that may not be able to be recovered. I mean, you look at all the king's horses and all the king's men, right? He's getting his cabinet together. There was 23 of them, ranging from and so of the 23, all of them have been confirmed except for 7, I think. He still has left the FBI, which is Patel, which is coming up. He still has Department of Education, which is Linda McMahon, still coming up. Secretary of Labor.
Wasn't she the secretary? Wasn't she the Secretary of Education in his first term?
She was something. She was something. I think she's up for it again, though. I think she's up for it again. And so it'll, you know, he has 7 of the 23 left to get in. And a couple, because Kennedy just got appointed. Gabbard just got approved. And so Patel will be next week. And so then we'll be down to, like, you know, trade and education and labor. But once he gets his full crew in,
yeah,
that's when the maneuvering will really start. You know, I noticed the other day that his press secretary was saying that you don't have a right to ask the president a question. It's a privilege. I mean,
well, they kicked and they locked the AP out. Did you see that story?
Yep.
I mean, that is absolutely ridiculous.
And that was the statement she made by saying it's a privilege, not a right.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah.
And you know, I don't know. She's starting off. I don't know if she's going to be worse than Huckabee or not, but it's getting close already. And she's just been in there a month.
Well, I think she got caught. I didn't read the article, but it appeared. Folks, I want to be clear. I am not a screaming far left liberal. I do not read and echo every single thing, and I don't agree with every single thing. But and so I don't always read every single thing, because sometimes it looks a little more propaganda from the left than anything else. But I saw an article that said they caught her lying. Like, the press corps caught her in a lie, and she didn't actually. Supposedly she had documents, but they weren't the actual documents, and she was actually lying to and they caught her in real time. And it caused a hullabaloo. And I think the press, I would love, man, we should start this campaign. The press should just ignore the press briefings. If the Democrats don't go, if people start boycotting, like the hell with boycotting Costco and that stuff isn't going to work. They're multinational companies. You can't boycott them. They're just not going to work. But you could boycott the press briefing and just leave it to
But it would be the same. It would be the same, because now you're going to have reporters who don't report news, and they're going to lose their job. So it's
not if ABC and CBS and MD, not if mainstream media said, "Hey, folks, here's the deal. We're not going to cover that. We're not going to report on it." And President Trump,
all of the right-leaning guys would still be there. Fox would be there. We'd definitely only be getting one side of the story.
So who cares? Yeah, but
I care. I care if we don't get a balanced side of the news. If I don't know what he's doing except for what they put out, then we're really in trouble, because now he'll be doing stuff no one knows about for sure.
But is reporting on propaganda actually reporting news? Is it actually reporting even the truth? Like, okay, you could still say President Trump's press secretary had a press briefing today. We did not attend as conscientious objectors, and this is the bullets. But
how would they know the bullets if they're not there?
Because they can watch Fox News too.
But Fox News already has taken just the top 3 bullets and left off the last 7.
All right.
I mean, I'm saying that in the sense of, anytime we get to an extreme, whether it's on the extreme right or the extreme left, we're headed for trouble, because there's too much information, ideas, everything that's being just left out. We have to have this to and fro. It's like your heart. If your heart gets too high or your heart gets too low, you check out. You need your heart in a little range of back and forth to keep it moving. that principle applies to everything in this universe. There is an ebb and flow, heartbeat, high tide, low tide. Pick the metaphor or the actual thing that happens. That is why we're in the problem now. Democrats have funked so far to the left, the Republicans to the right. And so now we have these massive swings that only cause disruption and doesn't give a chance for an even settling kind of environment, I think. And once, so we'll see when he gets his cabinet in, what happens, because I think that's going to be key to looking at, the inflation, if inflation comes down, because it all works together.
They're already dismantling major departments. We're going to watch them dismantle the Department of Education and stop all funding to schools across the country. We're going to watch them stop all funding for federal health care funding.
Which is an extreme.
I already see it in Colorado. Hospitals have already scaled back care. It's already harder to get appointments. People are already stockpiling medications. Like, when we have to stockpile our meds because we're concerned we're not going to get them. Shit, I wish I had bought a lot of eggs last summer. I'll tell you that.
Well, now check this out on the eggs. I saw there are, and I'm not sure where it was, but I'm sure it's in several places. There are mom and pop companies, and maybe even big companies, that are renting, if you will, eggs, chickens to people. They'll come and set up a little pen in your yard and give you a couple of eggs. A couple of chickens, and you can get your own eggs. And so
so those birds die of bird flu, and I bet it's in the contract. You got to pay them back for the chickens if something happens. Oh my God, folks, you can go buy yourself a chicken or two if you need. You don't have to rent them from some company that thinks they can take advantage of you. Let's be clear. Do not rent chickens. Birds aren't real anyway. What are we talking about? Just letting another spy into your backyard. That's just a government oversight project to get more bird spies in your yard.
And another thing that happened today, all of the major mobile apps have allowed TikTok back in their sales offering. So, and here's the thing that I think is more scary than any of it. And if I really be honest, is these points where the judges are telling Trump, you can't do this and that, and he's still doing it. So the very thing is supposed to be the checks and balances, if you will, are being ignored, and in some cases just dismantled by not following the ruling.
Right.
It gets scary.
Yeah.
That whole idea of being a dictator, starts looking like, ooh, maybe he's trying to move that.
I saw one of those memes. I saw a meme this week, and it was it was like Kamala Harris sitting at probably like a movie theater or something, and she's looking back over her shoulder, and it is concerned about all the crap that's I forget how it was, but it was kind of one of those, I told you so. I'm the one. I told you all this shit was going to happen, and we're not any closer to the Ukraine, to any resolution in the Ukraine between the Ukraine and Russia. Russia has been accused of flying a warhead into the Chernobyl containment tent. We say tent, it's a big, huge building. The Ukrainians are reporting today that Russia attempted to bomb the Chernobyl site. and have pictures of a drone exploding on the building. Of course, Russia says, "Oh no, we didn't do that." But then again, if you listen to Russia, they didn't do a damn thing for the last 3 years. They've just been watching some proxy war, I guess. But it,
here's the thing. It's like, I don't know if the populace globally are really understanding what this thing called life is. It is more than a momentary moment of being on the beach or driving in a fast car or flying to an island or having some perceived power and control over things. It's all, the one thing we're guaranteed is to check out of here, is check out of Motel Earth. So why is it not conceivable that we work together for everybody to enjoy Hotel Earth, if you will,
right.
and have the benefits and support those who are less fortunate or whatever? Because as the saying goes, there but for the grace of God go I, right?
Yeah.
And these people with all this perceived power are really, it appears, I won't accuse them, of thinking only of themselves and their kind, and everybody else is as they were saying with the North Koreans who went over to Russia, cannon fodder. We're gonna put you in front of the fire, we're gonna put you out there to get killed to save ourselves. It's interesting, and speaking of Russia and Ukraine, now they're brokering a talk between Zelensky and Putin. At first they were saying Ukraine wasn't going to be there, but Ukraine is saying you can't talk about us without us being there in terms of brokering some kind of deal. So that'll be interesting to see.
That's not a deal. If JD Vance is going to broker a deal between the Russians and the Ukrainians and not invite Zelensky, that's not brokering a deal. That's strategizing with your partner, people. That's strategizing with your strategic partner in all this.
or dictating what's going to take place. And right now, JD Vance is over in Germany speaking to the Security Council. I saw a little bit of it this morning, and he was talking about, he cited a bunch of cases where people who were supposedly exercising their right in Sweden and different places got arrested. So he in my mind, he was pushing this idea of anti-establishment rhetoric in terms of what's acceptable and non-acceptable, and taking that same thing we're doing here and exporting it everywhere.
Right.
So that there'll be turmoil everywhere.
Yep. I have a hard time. I didn't read Hillbilly Elegy. JD
I saw the
Vance's
movie.
book. Did
Yeah,
you?
I saw the
Okay.
movie.
I didn't read it. I didn't see the movie, but I got a hard time believing that man ever won a game of Risk. And if you can't say you've at least won a game of Risk, I don't think you should be negotiating world war. I just don't. I don't think he's qualified.
Yeah, well, I mean, in terms of, if you tell me he was going to be doing some venture capitalist stuff with technology guys or with anybody, I mean, venture capitalist is venture capitalist.
Right.
I would say he has a modem of understanding risk, but not at the expense or not at the extent of causing World War III, right?
Right.
He was only in Congress for 8 to 9 months before he got this job. I mean, he was a lawyer from a prestigious school, obviously, but the kind of stakes that you play in a venture capitalist game is quite different than a game you play at, global nuclear war to be to an extreme. And that's what's at stake. That's what's at stake.
There's a lot at stake. We are
Well,
witnessing.
when nuclear war happens, everything's going. So nothing else matters. If they shoot the nukes off, nothing else is mattering.
I always we went there. I've always told my family, we've talked so many times. If something really screws up, if we're looking at mass end of the world, do everything you possibly can to get to the Denver Federal Center. Because it's a huge complex. They got hundreds and hundreds of square feet of underground tunnels and storage, and the rumors of what's really going on there is been insane for years. But it's a very large federal center, and I always thought, if hell comes to high water, go there, and you got a chance. And if you can get in, you got a chance, and go there. And if you go there, and then if one of us is off somewhere else in the world, make your way to the Denver Federal Center there in Lakewood, right around the corner from your place, actually, and hang out there, and that's where we meet as a family if all hell breaks loose. Now I'm starting to think I need a backup plan of some sort. I need somewhere else to go, because there ain't going to be anybody there. He'll have fired everybody. The place will be a ghost town. There'll be nowhere. There'll be nothing left. It'll be already have been looted and gone by then.
Well, just getting ready to say, as they look to close down, federal sites and stuff, that's on the block, because Colorado is the second largest location of federal employees next to Denver. Next to DC.
And we give more money to the government budgets than we take out. Why is?
You have agencies. You got the Department of Interior. You got the EPA. You got the GSA. You got the Bureau of Land Management. You got the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And there's a bunch that I know I miss. I used to work at the DOI at the Fed Center, so I know some about what they got going on over there. There are a lot of agencies here that if they start slashing, let's just hope and pray that there's somebody out of the bunch that if they're not woke yet, they will wake up and say, wait a minute, Mr. President, let's slow this down. Let's ask a couple more questions before we take some action.
I hope somebody does. We need, my perspective, there needs to be some sort of massive type of disruptive action, nonviolent disruptive action that gets more than, you're never going to change Trump's mind. You're never going to change Elon's greed. You're never going to change the destructive nature of some people. Trump's appointing a woman to head the Bureau of Land Management that is an oil and gas lobbyist. The Bureau of Land Management is not about how to exploit the land for gas and oil. The Bureau of Land Management is how to preserve the land for future generations and not destroy it. But the call's coming from inside the house, and it's too late. I don't know. All right, folks, we got 15 minutes. Let's get back to creating a vision here, because.
Well, here's a good part of a vision. Celebration, coming together around wins. And that's what they'll be doing today in Philadelphia, as they have the parade for the Philadelphia Eagles for winning the Super Bowl. Now, that city, I know a lot about that city. I've spent lots of time there. I have relatives there still. Growing up, I had 3 uncles and an aunt that live in Philadelphia, so I know the city decently. Various communities of people, working class, upper class, but I can guarantee you this afternoon or this morning, I forget the time, when that parade happens, everybody of all colors, creeds, living standards will be there to celebrate the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, there will still be those who don't like this one or that one, but in that instance of celebrating a achievement together, people will be there and they'll be shaking hands and high-fiving and laughing. And we need to find our Super Bowl win globally so we can have that kind of celebration.
Yeah. You know, you're right. That to me is right now, I think it's paramount, because we were promised a lot of winning and we were promised a lot of celebrating, and right now what we're getting is a lot of gloating and not much true celebration. Celebration is something we can all celebrate, right? So yes, please do end the war. Please, Mr. President, end the war in the Ukraine and we can celebrate. Please, Mr. President, eliminate the IRS and we can celebrate. Please, Mr. President, let's celebrate. Yeah.
Right. There's a lot there. I mean, and I mean, you know, I think it's easy for us individually and collectively to get on a tangent about one particular thing or 2 particular things. However, this universe, this globe, this earth, nothing is run by one particular thing. It is a group of particular things that makes a one thing that makes anything go.
Yeah.
And so, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, we have to begin to look at life. I say this all the time because it's true. We have to begin to look at things holistically and not, you know, and not get bent out of shape on this one little thing or these 2 little things that will cause the whole thing to crash.
Yeah. As ministers, I know I was, and I believe you were, we were taught you can't do everything. So stay in your lane, basically. Do what you're good at. Yes, increase your skill set. Yes, learn new things. But stay out of the places where you're ineffective and get good people to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
And if we do pick one thing, pick what is important to you and do your research and figure it out. And, you know, if your thing is the Gulf of Mexico, say it loud and proud and clear that I'm not going to stand for that. I'm not going to call it that. I'm going to keep posting pictures that call it the Gulf of Mexico. I'm going to hit the little buttons on the Google Maps and tell them I think they got it wrong. I'm going to do whatever is mine to do, but I'm also going to do my research around that. And I'm going to not try to hit everything all the time. Pick your space. But I think more than anything, if you consider yourself in any way liberal, if you consider yourself a centrist, if you consider yourself anything other than MAGA, the resistance has begun, folks. Kendrick Lamar told us the other day, it ain't being televised, but it's not like it isn't happening. Get your butt in gear, pick your issue, and non-violently disrupt what MAGA is trying to do.
Yeah. I mean, we are at a point now. I believe there's no safe place on the sideline.
Right.
We all have to find, I believe, a part to play. Right. When you look at the civil rights movement, there were individuals who all they did was pass out flyers. They didn't go to any marches. They didn't do any sit-ins. There were certain people, all they did was cook the food for the people who were marching. Yep. Everyone in that holistic approach to getting rights for people who had been denied them was needed. There were people who just bandaged people's heads when they got knocked upside the head.
Right.
Without that, some people may have bled to death. Some people may have, who knows what. We have to begin to look at life holistically. I'm going to hammer that until I go home. Because if we let the system get out of whack, and right now it's out of whack and getting wackier,
right.
Railing against the wall is not going to help us change the situation. What's going to help us change the situation is changing behavior and having good information and dialogue to make better decisions. That means that's in anything we do in life, whether it's our personal health or the health of this economy or the health of global affairs. And when we can begin to understand that, I think things will begin to, that pendulum will begin to swing back and get in the middle, and we do a little bit of that as opposed to this.
Right.
Which is what's happening now. Extremes, and the people in the middle are getting crushed.
And a lot of people in the middle are at risk of being pushed down.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the big economic concern. You cannot keep putting all the money at the top in the hands of a few and anticipate that they're going to have
a conscience.
Yeah, okay. or humanity's best at heart. And right now, people don't see that what they're doing is a massive money grab. And I know there are people that don't see it. I've been in discussions with other ministers of New Thought, and not just one, that are fully on board with eliminating this and cutting that, and coming for the trans folk and all of it. That what I don't think they're seeing is that if we don't have a strong middle class, if we don't have a vision of being able to reach into the middle class, for the poor to have a vision of being able to, but if we don't have that, it's all going to fall apart. We are talking like massive revolt if we get to that point where these technocrats and oligarchs just keep taking all the money.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you think about it. Elon Musk, as they say, a trillionaire. I can't even imagine what that means. I just to be honest. And I do know that with that I mean, there are several countries put together that don't make half of what his personal total wealth is. I'm talking 5 or 6 countries. Now, who am I to tell him to do with his money? However, if I had that money as an enlightened citizen, I would believe I could pick, and I don't know, and maybe he does do a lot of donating to causes to do things. I don't know. I need to go and check that so I can speak from a more informed point. But he could change the fate of several countries overnight, or several causes overnight. Now, who am I to tell them again what to do? But to be a conscious citizen of the world, of the globe, that's looking to create balance, harmony, and all of that, just because it's needed to keep the planet spinning in the air, if you will, it won't. It at $1 trillion, I could give up 100 million and not even feel it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, right? That this man has more than enough money, and even just a whole collaboration of them. Put 5 or 6 of them together, right? Let Gates run it. Gates is pretty good at that type of stuff. Let Gates run it. He'll put in money. Let's end the billionaire class. We've said that before on this program. If you get to $1 billion, that is a moral failure. I don't see. So far, every study I see says, yeah, you get to $1 billion, you're never going to spend it. All you're going to do is let it sit there and grow more money, and you're going to give it to your kids, and they're never going to work. And those grandkids, and somewhere, somebody's going to be like, my great granddaddy ripped off the United States government and its people for $14 billion, and I still got 5 of them, right? The billionaire class. Let's give everybody an honest shot. What would it hurt to give every single person in the United States $1 million? I want to know, how would that ruin our country? I can't imagine it would do anything but build our country and make us stronger if we didn't have people living under bridges and begging for food every day. I can't imagine how we would be any less off if a handful of these billionaires each threw in a couple $100 million, and before you know it, everybody's got $1 million. Yeah. I don't know.
And that would be a great experiment to see what people would do with the millionaire. Would they be so enamored and so caught up in the consumerism that they'd spend it all on cars, clothes, events, and in a short amount of time be out of the money? Or would they have some kind of conscientious approach to figure out, how do I put myself in a position to be sustained?
Maybe we got to do away. Maybe we got to do away with some of the entertainment stuff. Maybe we got to do away with, like, the NFL is on. The NFL apologized to Lil Wayne for having Kendrick Lamar on at the Super Bowl. Okay, and so we're going to lose some of these things. So they're going to be in trouble with all the woke folk. I'm sure the NFL is in trouble with all the anti-woke folk.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL is in trouble with all the anti-woke folk, and apologizing to Lil Wayne is just going to add more to it from their perspective. So let's just get rid of the NFL. Let's save some people some of that. Let's give people that money and stop and get the American people to stop wasting it on stupid shit.
Well, and I mean, I don't think, I'm an NFL guy. So getting rid of the NFL, I think, is not going to solve, because one thing the NFL does is it take a lot of people of color, specifically black people, which there's about 54% of those people in there. A good number of that percentage come from very meager beginnings, and they give some folk some opportunities to have a chance at a life that they may not have had otherwise. But definitely there has to be looked at with the keen eye the excessive consumerism. I mean, we know it takes everything. It takes buying and selling to make the whole thing work, right? Because somebody got to make it, somebody got to sell it. So it begins to create jobs. But when it gets to the point to where it takes away, I believe, the whole entertainment thing from dealing with real life. If I get lost in that and lose my consciousness, now we got another problem. You know, jump out of the pan and in the fire.
Yeah. All right.
There's no one answer.
We can keep going. but we've done run out of time.
Yes.
I need to get back to my morning practice. No, this is part of my morning practice, folks, and we love that you're here with us. We appreciate you watching. We did have some technical difficulties today with us on Facebook. So if you found us on Facebook, I'm not sure exactly how that happened. It started out saying we weren't there, then it said we were there, then it said we weren't there, and now it says we're there again. My suggestion, check us out on YouTube. We never have a problem with our YouTube feed. Check us out on YouTube. We're always on YouTube. 7 a.m. Friday mornings right here on the New Thought Media Network. Stay with us throughout the day. It's a full day of programming. But for now, we're going to get out of here as we have run long and wish you an absolute fabulous weekend. Stay strong, stay positive, keep an eye on the future, and keep an eye on your friends. Don't worry about eating eggs. We'll find something else. Peace and blessings.